Good afternoon. I'm Chris Murphy. I'm with Red River Specialties out of Birmingham. As the gentleman said, I have 10 years experience with the company. We're located out of Alabaster, Alabama, just south of Birmingham, right off exit 234. For those of you who do not know anything about Red River, we are an authorized distributor for every major forestry herbicide manufacturer. Not only do we sell herbicide, but we also offer ground and aerial turnkey application services. And you want to know what is turnkey? Well, turnkey basically is we come out to your site, we write a prescription for you, then we facilitate and coordinate the application of that herbicide with an applicator. We then supervise the operation, see it through completely, and then follow up with post-spray any issues that you might have. Kind of limited on time today, so I'm going to stay on schedule. Thanks to Lee and AFOA for inviting me to speak today. If you've got any questions, I'll be around after the presentation, so feel free to come up and ask me whatever you might want, or if you got a track that you'd like me to visit and write a description on, you have to do that as well. So let's get started. Lee had asked me basically just to give a herbicide overview today, and I titled it Herbicides Win One. I've got kind of a general outline right here of what we're going to, key topics we're going to hit on today. Basic herbicide number one is just a general introduction of herbicides and treatment methods. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about herbicide programs for timber management, prescription factors, product strength and weaknesses, and what product do I use. And then we'll finish out the presentation with the basic species. So let's get started. Some benefits of herbicides are more cost effective than mechanical methods. It controls undesirable vegetation and increases growth rates of pine stands, reduces fire susceptibility, it improves wildlife habitat, improves aesthetics, allows easier access to your timber stands, and improves your planting conditions. Looking at the modes of action of herbicides, basically you've got two. You've got foliar and soil. Foliar is pretty self-explanatory. You absorb through the foliage, soil is absorbed through the roots. But some herbicides act both ways. Looking at two different types of herbicides, you're looking at pre-emergent herbicides and post-emergent herbicides. Pre-emergent herbicides are applied to the soil before any undesirable vegetation can germinate. Basically, it disrupts the whole germination process, or it kills the seed before it germinates. Post-emergent herbicide is applied to foliage and soil. It's used mostly when you have undesirable vegetation that already exists on the tract. Herbicide tends to move from the site of absorption to other areas of the plant. It translocates through the xylem flow. Most common treatment methods are broadcast treatments. Usually these are done with aerial application, helicopters. You do see some fixed-wing aerial applications. And basically, a broadcast treatment it's just you're treating the entire area. Another common application method is banded treatment. Banded application is mostly used in herbaceous weed control. You're treating just a set area around that pine seed. This is usually done with motorized equipment, tractors with boom sprayers. I've seen some ATVs and SUVs with these boom sprayers, but most common you'll see backpack application doing this type of work. Basal bark is very specific. It's just basically you're treating the trunk of a tree. This is very specific application method. Cut surface, hack and squirt injection. Cut surface, pretty self-explanatory. This is herbicide that's applied directly to the cut stump or severed limb. Hack and squirt is basically taking a hatchet and girdling the perimeter of the tree and then spraying the herbicide directly into the cambium around the circumference of it. In injection, this is done with kind of a pick or a lance, piece of equipment where the herbicide is injected directly into the trunk. Herbicide programs for timber management. Site preparation, herbaceous weed control, early release, mid-rotation release. Site preparation basically eliminates undesirable vegetation in order to increase the survival and growth rate of your pine stand. It also prevents competition from resprouting. A lot of site preparation will have a kind of a carryover effect, a residual effect. Late season, it'll carry over during the winter months. In spring, you'll have a herbicide that's in the soil that will shut down and kill weeds and grasses that might be competing for nutrients. The best timing on site prep is mid-June to first leaf drop. The second program I'd like to talk about is herbaceous weed control. This is a very critical time for pines. It's mostly done in the first and second growing season. And again, it controls weeds and grasses that compete for moisture, sunlight, nutrients, and rooting space. Therefore, it decreases seedling mortality and increases the growth rates in your pines. However, it's very limited with longleaf and slash. Once you plant longleaf and slash, your options go down drastically on what herbicide treatments you can use. The timing on herbaceous weed control treatments is late February to May. Early release. Early release, the best way to explain it is if you had no previous site prep treatment. Say you had a cut over and you just left it out for a couple of years and I'm not really sure I'm gonna plant that. I might just let it sit out, and then a couple years down the road you want to plant it, and you come in and you plant pine trees, and it's like, well, I need to do some type of treatment on this. So our early release would be preferred in this situation. Controls hardwood brush competition. It also increases the growth rate of pine stands. It also enhances wildlife habitat. You might ask, well, how does it enhance wildlife habitat? Well, you can target a pine release to where you're removing competition from the pines, but yet you're releasing lagoons and forests for wildlife. The timing on early release treatments is mid-July to leaf drop. Mid-rotation release. Mid-rotation release is very similar to early release, but we're talking in stands 10 to 20 years old. They had no previous herbicide treatments, no site prep, no early release. Post-thinning operations. We recommend doing a mid-rotation release 1 year after you do a thinning. You open up the canopy, voila. You have all this hardwood competition, re-invade your stand. It also controls all the hardwood brush competition and it very well enhances wildlife habitat. The timing on this program or this treatment is mid-August to leaf drop. Moving on into prescription factors, what herbicide professionals and foresters look at when they go out and write prescriptions or have a herbicide professional come out and write a prescription. We look at these different type of factors. The first being previous stand characteristics. You know, what was out there? What's my target? You know, if I've got a majority of hardwood, that's really what I need to go after. Residual pine. If you're looking at a natural pine stand that you just recently harvested, 1 year later, you can go out there and you have got thousands and thousands of natural pine seeds just sprouting up. With residual pine, you have basically two options. You can attack it with prescription or with fire. Now, if you attack it going the fire route, you need to make sure that you have adequate fuel loads to carry that fire. You need a real hot fire to go through there to eliminate this natural pine seed. Or you can go the prescription route. we can come out and write a guaranteed rate to control this natural pine problem. Resprout status and soil type. Basically on resprout status, I'm talking about the developmental stage of your cutover. If you're dealing with something that's not as small or as dense, you usually need more herbicides to react or to absorb with the surface area of the leaves and the root system. This also comes into play with soil type. You have to be extremely careful with different soil types. Sandy soils, lower use rates, and you move up the chain with that as far as increasing your usage rates in sandy clay and clay soils. Also, GPA, the resprout status. If you're looking at a cutover that's a year old, you're looking at multiple layers, multiple canopies. So you're going to have to go with a higher GPA. Most common in site prep work is 10-gallon rate. But with a cutover that's a couple years old and you've got multiple canopies, you might have to go with 15 to 20 gallons to the acre to make sure that you get adequate coverage throughout your stand. Early or late season. In the herbicide business, we have what we call an early site prep and a late site prep. Early site prep starts around June 15th. Sometimes the manufacturers will let us bump that up a little bit, just depending on the weather conditions. But burning window is critical with some of our customers. And what I mean is that if you're a forester or a landowner that you're up against a burn window, you need to get that track sprayed. Well, you've got to wait 40 to 45 days after you treat it to burn. So it's real critical as far as a burning window to make sure a forester or a landowner can get their track sprayed and get it burned in time. Harvest timing. It also comes into play with early site prep or late site prep. If you had a tract that was harvested up to the previous year to December, you're probably in good shape for an early site prep prescription. However, if it was harvested after December up to about middle part of March, you're probably looking at a late site prep, at best. You're starting to push the window once you get into a late harvest in mid-March to the end of March. Also, late season, a lot of our customers in the last few years have started going with an additional herbaceous weed control treatment added to the site prep mix. After August 15th, you can add a herbicide to a site prep mix and get residual control the following spring. You get carryover. So a lot of our customers want to wait till late season. They're not up against the burn window and want to get herbaceous weed control. Soil active product issues. Basically what I'm talking about with soil active product issues is SMZs. If you have SMZs that kind of meander all the way through a track or your cutover, you have to be extremely careful with what herbicides you put out because typically around these SMZs, if you have large canopies, you can just about bet that the root system is about the same width. So you have to be extremely careful in applying soil-active herbicides around SMZs because these large trees will, the root system, just kind of spread out into the track. So they will absorb that product and you'll see dinged up trees, suppressed trees, and even dying trees, trees that were killed because of soil-active herbicides. So that's one thing to be aware of. Future plan. What is your goals? I mean, basically what I'm saying is, as a landowner or forester, what do you plan on planting? Are you going with long leaf? Are you going with slash? Are you going with loblolly? And the reason being is that you have more options on the front side with loblolly. And, well, with all three species, loblolly, longleaf, and slash. Excuse me. If you're wanting to plant longleaf and slash, you need to do all your site prep. You need to get it hard as you can prior to planting that species. Because afterwards, you're very limited on your herbaceous weed control treatments and your release treatments. I'll talk about that a little bit later on, but just keep that in mind. If you're going to plant longleaf, hit it hard in the beginning. Prescription factors with herbaceous weed control. Identify your species. Am I going to plant loblolly? Am I spraying loblolly or am I spraying longleaf or slash? If you're looking at a bare ground application, you got a good burn, you can go with a lower GPA. If you're converting an old field site, you need to go with a higher GPA. You're going to have a lot of competition, a lot of grass. It's real dense root mass. You really need to go hit it with water volume. Prescription factors in early release. Identify species again. If you're looking at loblolly that's 1 year old, in the instance I was talking about, you had a cut over, you left it out. If it's 1 year old, you can go with a higher usage rate. You tend to go up to 20 ounces of arsenal that first year if you had no previous site prep. Long leaf and slash, early release. This is what I was talking about. Hit it hard in the beginning. Basically what I'm saying, with long leaf and slash, you're limited because you can't do anything that first year. You can do a herbaceous treatment, but you're just going after herbaceous weeds and grasses. As far as your hardwood competition, you need to hit it prior to that, because label limits you to 2 to 5 year release treatments on longleaf. It also limits you on the amount of herbicide that you can put out. It drops it down to about 14 ounces per acre. It also, you can never use a surfactant. You're talking about longleaf. The terminal bud is super sensitive in the grass stage. And once again, you need to hit it after August 15th. The trees tend to harden off after mid-August, and it's the best time to go at it. Mid-rotation release, just briefly, you're looking mostly loblolly only over the top. However, you can do some understored treatments with chopper, draw line, and some more herbicide. Typically, mid-rotation release is done on 10 to 20-year-old stands. Product strength and weaknesses. I'm not going to go through the 20 or 30 different parts of herbicides that we use, but I thought I'd just mention some of the most common ones today. Which product did I use? Let's just start off with Al's Extra. Al's Extra is a DuPont branded product. It's used mostly in site prep, wooded release, and herbaceous weed control. It's a broad spectrum grass and broadleaf control herbicide. It's both foliar and soil active. And as I previously stated, it's commonly used in late season site prep for herbaceous weed control. Escort XP. This is a DuPont branded product. It's used mostly in site prep, wooded release, and herbaceous weed control. It's great on lagoons, broadleaves. You'll get some elm suppression out of it. It's great on blackberries. It's great on kudzu. It's both foliar and soil active. And you can only do a release treatment on loblolly using Escort. Longleaf, no way. Alstar is another DuPont branded product. It's used mostly in herbaceous weed control. Once again, it's broad spectrum grass and broadleaf weed control. It's used early on exposed soil. And what I mean used early on exposed soil is soil active, it's primary soil active. If you can kind of visualize, if you had a good burn and you treat a tract with Alstar, it forms like a layer, an invisible layer, if you will, across that tract. And as a seed germinates and hits this layer, it kills it, just eliminates it. Arsenal AC and Chopper Gen 2, both of these have imazapyr that active ingredient in it. Arsenal is basically a 4-pound active product. Basically, you have 4 pounds of active product per gallon. Chopper, you're looking at 2 pounds. Arsenal is used mostly in site prep, wooded release, and herbaceous weed control. Chopper is mostly site prep. However, you can use chopper in mid-rotation understored release treatments. But always consult a herbicide professional before you do any stuff with chopper, garland, and a cord in those situations. Broad spectrum grass, weed, and hardwood control, Arsenal, Lancipere, chopper, Gen 2, weak on the elm, blackberry, red bud, and locust, honey, and black locust. It's both foliar and soil active. As I mentioned, it's 4 pound active in Arsenal AC, and chopper, you're looking at a 2 pound active. The last 3 or 4 years in using chopper, we've noticed that we get better results using chopper Gen 2 in site prep situations on waxy species. Accord XRT2 is a Dow manufactured product. It's used mostly in site prep. It has a surfactant added to it, and I'll touch base on surfactants in just a moment. But you have a better browning agent using Accord. It's great on most hardwood, pine, and grasses. However, it's weak on water oak and red maple. And Accord is foliar active herbicide. Forest Garland XRT2. This is a souped up garland. It's 6.3 pound active ingredient used in site prep. It's excellent on waxy species in south part of the state with gallberry, yopon, and quax myrtle. It's also a good additive for pine control. It's safe on grasses, and it's foliar active. Milestone, this is kind of a new herbicide that's been introduced in the last few years. This is Dow manufactured product. Using Milestone, you get guaranteed pine control. We have a prescription that Dow recommends that you will get guaranteed pine control when using this with Accord and Arsenal AC. I was talking earlier about residual pine. If you have a natural pine regen problem, this is your product. It's also great in kudzu. You can throw it in with a site prep mix and do some kudzu. It's also good on mimosa. It's safe on grasses, and it is both foliar and soil active. Surfactants are just basically an additive to herbicide mixes. It makes them perform better. Surfactants basically cut the surface tension between a leaf, the droplet, water droplet, and the leaf surface. Therefore, it increases the deposition of the spray droplet and then allows more herbicide active ingredients to penetrate the surface. Red River has its own line of surfactants, by the way. And I can go into great detail about different types of surfactants. You need to use oil-based, products with certain glyphosates, and you need to use silicone-based on Lancipere products. But I won't get into all that. Just briefly touch base on some invasive species. Everybody know about kudzu. We've used Escort by itself over the top of pines with aerial applications. We've used it in pine relief situations with Arsenal. We have pretty good results with Escort. Another option is if you've got kudzu encroaching onto your property and you're doing a site prep mix anyway, you can use Milestone. It's great at 7 ounces to the acre. Excuse me. Under hardwoods, Transline is a great product by itself. Dow recommends 21 ounces to the acre for treating under any type of hardwood. There is another option, Tordon. Tordon, however, is a restricted use herbicide, meaning you need a restricted use license or your applicator needs a restricted use license. However, you need to wait 6 months after you treat a piece of property with Tordon if you're planting pines. I'll try to speed this up. Aerial application is not the preferred method. It's all about water volume when you're dealing with kudzu. Higher GPA rates, you need to bump those up. You're probably going to need some spot application. It's usually a 3 or 4 year process. Cogan grass. Some people go a Lancipere route, which is Arsenal and chopper. Some people go glyphosate route, which is Accord, Razor Pro. We've noticed that Arsenal at 0.5% or Chopper at 1% and Accord at 2% works the best. If it's done late summer and the fall, we've seen some good results out of that. But it may require some spot treatment in the spring. Another invasive, real quickly, Arsenal AC, Chopper's into 18 to 20 ounces of Arsenal late summer and fall. It works great on treatment. In conclusion, thank you for your time. Thanks again to the AFOA and Lee for inviting me to speak to you guys today. I'll be around if anybody has any questions. Just to summarize, there's no universal prescription. Every track is site specific. I mean, you're looking at soils, you're looking at adjacent vegetation, proximity to streams. It's site specific. Herbicides tend to work better if they're tank mixed than by themselves. And always read all your labels. Thank you for your time. Have a good afternoon.